the topic, Uncover the Future of AI, Unleashing Agentization and What It Means for Business. I don't know, maybe a lot of us remember last year, just before the Christmas break, Satya Nadella, Microsoft CEO, unveiled a bold yet controversial vision for the future of business application in an AI-driven world. He suggested that the era of software as a service, as we all know, is nearing its end. One of the things he said is that we will be transitioning from integrated platform where AI takes the center stage. However, one of the things we need to understand is that this shift is set to actually disrupt traditional tools and workflow, and is going to also usher a new generation of application. In this session, we're going to explore the concept of whatever you call it, whether it's agentization, agentification of AI, or even AI agents, and what it really means for organization. By the end of this session, we want to understand the transformative trend we can, and then for us to be able to better appreciate the potentials and also what it is like to have AI agents in your organization. How is it going to spark innovation? What is it going to bring into the industry? And most importantly, what is going to be the impact on data management, cybersecurity, and compliance? So this is what all of this session is about. Welcome once again to our wonderful audience as we take the ride together. So I'm going to be starting with my first question. I'm going to be throwing it to our panelists. And then the question is all about when was the first time. I'm going to stop sharing right now so that I can be able to view my panelists very well. So the question is, when was the first time you heard about AI agents, and what really comes to your mind when you heard about AI agents? So I'll start with maybe Timi. I see you because I see your camera on immediately. So tell me, let's hear from you. You're still muted. I think you need to unmute yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Olajumoke. So I've been hearing about AI agents for a while. However, I started taking note of, the developments around it seriously. I think about 3 years ago, and I've been following the trend, and initially when it came up, I was thinking about automation, thinking about autonomy, thinking about what it could do in terms of inventory management, in terms of pricing, customer support, reducing overall human oversight. I mean, I remember those days I would go on YouTube and start to scroll and watch, videos on the future of work, and that was how I, came across more, detail, more, information on AI agents, and I began to see, learn and appreciate how it would impact e-commerce platforms, and pretty much what the things I was able to learn, then I'm already seeing it happening, in Amazon, for example, and also speaking of things like enhancing human machine collaboration, and then the fear that robots would take over all our jobs. I remember on a lot of platforms then, we were speaking about finance, accounting, and we're saying accounting is dead, and a lot of iterations, insinuations, a lot of fear of the unknown. Speaking to what would happen to audit. Would we still be auditing? Would KPMG, the big four, Deloitte, PwC, and EY, would they still have human beings, or would everything just be, especially when I think there was a time this this software, this lawyer software, was released, I think, in the Western world, and they said, you once you have that software, you would get legal advice, and you won't need any lawyer that has like 5 years and up to 5 years experience. You don't need them because the software would advise you better, than what the new graduates would do, and so on and so forth. I'm like, okay, what's going to happen in this space? However, good enough, we are beginning to see the changes. And we're also seeing that AI has not come to take our jobs, right? And we are seeing that we need to upskill as well. Speaking of the financial services and the e-commerce industry, basically, and of course, across other industries as well, as long as we get the right skills, in process, then, we get it in, and then things will be fine. That's how I started with, AI agents and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Thank you, Timi. I because I know if I leave you, you say I know you have a lot to tell us. So I'll just quickly reach out to Tosin. Tosin, I mean, the first time you heard the word AI agents, or let's say agentification of AI, what really came to your mind? You're still muted, Tosin.
Apologies.
No problem.
Thanks. Okay, so because I play directly in the data space, when I hear buzzwords, I don't get excited. And yes, because in recent times, we've seen a lot of words used somewhat, I don't want to say carelessly, but we have used some words. So, for example, we know that programming makes things to be kind of automated. I mean, for those of us who write software, we know that there's something like if then else, which is how software was written. But in these days, anything that is not just normal logic, people just call it AI, right? So I'm one of those people who don't just, so when I hear those things, I step back a little bit to say, is it actually a new thing, or is it marketing buzz? Right. So all the things that Timi said, yes, I've gone through that cycle also, but I was a bit cautious. And even till this week, I was still doing all that research. But what I've now discovered is, and if you recall, there's what we call robotic process automation.
Yeah.
Which is different from agentic AI.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, I didn't jump up for joy, like I was cautious. And but what I eventually now discovered, and what made me embrace this, because in the next few days I'll actually be releasing a couple of articles on this, was the sheer amount of intelligence that we are getting into because of this explosion of generative and pre-trained transformers that we are having. And I'll just quickly say this in the next 30 seconds. Agentic AI is exciting because what we have now done is that we are not following standard processes like we have in automation, robotic process automation, which is scan a file, extract the heading, put this, put that, which RPA does, Power Platform, UiPath, and all those things. What we are having here now is we are empowering robotic platforms or AI platforms to now make decisions on their own. If you've looked at the recent features that we have in ChatGPT, where ChatGPT reasons, if you follow those trends that the thing uses to the explainability that it uses to arrive at its decisions, you see that sometimes when it makes mistakes, it will say, oh, I assume this was what they were saying now, but I'm clearer now and I'm retracing my steps. Now we are beginning to see things around voice AI where you have a missed call, and then after a missed call, something calls you back. We're beginning to see workflows where it's not an if then else, but it's making decisions on its own to say, if this scenario is what I meet there, I don't know what I'm going to meet as I'm starting this workflow, but if this scenario is what I meet, then I'm going to take this action. So for me, the long end of the long story is it sounds exciting, but again, like I said, I approached it cautiously, and now discovering what potentials exist when we begin to drop this into the enterprise, when we begin to take this into cybersecurity, where there's a lot of decisions that has to be made, false positives, fraud detection, and all of that, it is even so much more exciting than when generative AI started for me.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So I would like to go to Gbolabo. Is there any thought on this word when you heard it the first time? I mean, AI agents. I mean, yes, it's a buzz around now. Yes.
All right, so thanks a lot, Jumoke. In fact, I was quite excited you didn't call me first, so you let the experts and the juggernauts around AI talk about it first. So I would say, from a cybersecurity perspective, we were more excited in the cybersecurity space because of the amount of work and the speed required, especially from a response perspective or threat detection perspective. So, agent AI coming up, we still felt, yes, we would still need some form of human intervention to get, to be sure that data is accurate, or you are responding appropriately. But it would help fast track, and possibly help you reduce the dependency on humans, which is having too many people work on, specific deliverables, but improve your response time, do some a lot of work around automation, but you still need to sort of firm up on the conclusion or the report. For example, people talk about automated pen testing, and I would always tell people that if you understand the different stages of pen testing or what's involved, you will know that you can't fully automate pen testing. There would always be that human element. But what is different now is you sort of, instead of waiting for 2 weeks to get your enterprise report from a pen testing exercise, now it can be 3 days or 4 days or possibly 2 days, depending on the scope. So we are sort of, I would say for Agent AI, we're sort of used to some component system carrying out some technical deliverables in the cybersecurity space. So with the AI effect properly set up, it helping us sort of fast track our outcomes, and possibly making it more positive. But we know there's a need for the human, the human involvement in the final outcomes. And for us, it's a welcome idea, especially for example, around security operations where you need to work around the clock and you can't possibly get a human to be involved 24/7. The agent AI is welcome, but the human still needs to get to see the outcomes and pick things up, and then the cycle continues. So there are different applications, from our own point of view. And we think it's a welcome idea. The good part is we're at that point where we are the ones sort of ensuring there's no bias, there's no corruption of the models. So we are happy to embrace AI and just make it work properly, positively. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And then finally to Ellie. I mean, she's not it's not the least. But I mean, I'm happy to call on Ellie, my dear sister. So what do you think about AI agents? I mean, the first time you heard about it, what came to mind?
All right, thank you. Firstly, disclaimer, I don't longer work with PSC, just to put that out there. Yeah. All right. So I mean, I've heard what the gentlemen have said, and I'll tell you one thing. AI agent has actually been around for decades, and I mean, I'm glad that Timi is here. Timi is a CFO. Remember when, Timi, you used to, add 1 + 1 manually without a calculator, and the calculator came in, and that's an AI agent. But you see, we never saw it as an AI agent then. We just saw it as, oh, something nice has come up. Then Excel came up, Except is an AI agent. So if you say, how long have I heard, or when did I hear of AI agents? I mean, I could say way back when I was growing up, right? But right now, the buzzword, just like Tosin said, is all over. Everybody's talking about AI agents, but AI agents has actually been around for a very long time. And the most interesting thing right now is how AI agentic is making life very, very sweet, especially for cybersecurity space, just like Gbolabo said. There are lots of things you can do around that space right now that you don't even need to do any coding. And I just feel so deeply sorry and heartbroken for developers, that have spent years and years becoming an expert, because right now AI agentic would, write codes for you within seconds, will build apps for you, will build websites for you with the bug issues. I mean, I saw a demonstration sometimes, a while ago, and it was mind blowing. You don't have to sit down and debug issues. You don't have to look for data. The interesting thing is you can write where you are, ask where a particular flight is at this hour, and with the API, with AI agentic, you can get across any information you want to have at, real time online. And so again, should we be afraid? Oh yes, just like Bola said. Do we still need human intervention? Absolutely, we do. So for me, when did I hear about AI agentic? Maybe I didn't know that was the word, but it's been around for a while. Again, I remember in the late 2017, 2018, 2019, before 2020, if you all recall, there's this particular company in Nigeria that came up with WhatsApp that could do a lot of that could chat with you like a WhatsApp chat robot, and it was very fascinating. A lot of organizations were signing up, just like a customer service, but on a WhatsApp. That was AI agent, but of course that wasn't what it was called. Everybody just thought, oh, another technology is here and all of that. So AI agent has been around for as long as I can remember. And unfortunately, we didn't know that was what it was, but it is what it is, just like they say. So for me, it's come to stay, and I'm happy to be part of it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Nihinlola. Thank you, Ellie. Thank you, Ellie. All right. So it's very interesting. I think when we hear the word AI agents, agentic AI, a lot of us attribute automation really to artificial intelligence. But when it comes to AI agents, one of the distinct feature, or what is distinctive around the feature of AI agents, is the fact that it's it can learn from its environment and can interact and also make decision. So ordinarily, just like when what's Tosin described before now, automation, you can automate, you can write robotic RPA process automation, you ask it to. But decision making is not really part of automation as of when you use all of these tools. But when it comes to AI agents, that part of decision making is what makes it different. And a lot of people says that, oh, this is really, really the cool thing about it. So you can actually write a lot of agents that can interact with people and interact with the environment. At first, we thought it's something that you can liken to a chatbot. We talk about chatbot. Chatbots have been around forever. They interact. I mean, they learn from from large language models, talk to you, learn, and then they interact with you. But at this time, the part of it that is different is actually that part of that autonomous decision making, which means it can make decision on its own. So it's an interesting time and it's a very interesting topic. So I mean, thank you all for that insight into the discussion. So I'll be calling now on Tosin. And I want you to help our audience to understand how AI agent differs from the traditional AI automation, which is a lot of what I've said. I mean, I was in a session last week. Someone was asking, how is this different from Gen AI? How is AI agents different from it? And then so I want you, Tosin, to please help us with this. Somebody was like, is AI agent the same thing as ChatGPT? Please help us with this. And Tosin, over to you, please. Let us help us to understand a bit of it. Hello, Tosin.
Okay. Yes,
Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. I think that's a very beautiful question. I'm happy that we have people who are asking those kind of questions. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I always joke around to say all this AI that we are hearing, those of us that understand it, we are not more than 50 in the whole world. And yeah, of course, it's not the figurative 50, right? It's not the figurative 50.
Yeah.
But what I mean is those of us who are interested and who are really, what's the word now, who are really keen on understanding how this thing goes, we are just a very, very, very tiny handful. Yes, you will say that cannot be true. I know 15 people. I promise you, it's a tiny, tiny handful of people. So when I see people getting very, very curious about how this thing works, it's exciting for me. As we speak now, ChatGPT is 3 years old, and like Nihinlola said, some of these things are not exactly new. Yes, I mean, when I was in Microsoft, we were already talking about bots since 2018, 2019. But that quantum leap that happened between 2021 and 2022, and then that was phase 0, and then from 2022 till now, we've gone from like 2 or 3 cycles. It's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I promise you, a lot of people are still not interested. So when people are taking keen interest, I'm very excited. Yes. So what is agentic AI? First of all, what is ChatGPT? Now, ChatGPT, like we all know, is a chatbot that connects to a big database that we call a large language model, and has been trained on a lot of information, a lot of websites, a lot of data, a lot of documents, and a lot of stuff. And then because of the large, humongous volume on which it has been trained, it seems to be all-knowing. It knows a whole lot of things. It knows a whole lot of things. Let me just put these caveats here. Without data, there is no AI. So every AI that we know or talk about is very, very dependent on data that you thought that it was taught.
Mm-hmm.
So take AI as your baby child that is 2 years old. If a child grows up in Lagos, that child knows a lot of things about Lagos. If a child grows up in the UK, that child knows a lot of things about the UK. If you ask it something about Lagos, it may not know. That's how AI is. So what you've trained your child on is what it grows up knowing. So, and that is exactly how AI is. And ChatGPT is just a chat interface that is in front of that whole system. Are you with me? And allows you to ask it a lot of questions. And then it goes to compare all the insights, all the info inside its very large back end, its large database, and then spits it out at you. And when I tell you that it took about 2, 3, 4 years to train that system, it did take a lot of time to train it. Now, in fact, when it was first released, I think there was a cutoff. It was the cut when it was released in 2022. The most recent data in that system was 2021. Now, to incur that cost of training it again is why we've now begun to see things whereby it now goes directly to the internet to do its search. Because training it over time is going to cost a lot of money, will take time, and we cannot afford to have it behind with the maturity that we have in the world right now. Now, when we talk about automation, when we talk about automation, automation takes up some manual tasks that you perform. And when it takes up those manual tasks that you perform, it makes those tasks automated. So let's take a scenario. You walk into the banking hall today. I have a lot of banking activities that are pending because of one factor. I have to fill a form. So anything banking that requires me to fill a form, if it's not urgent, that thing is going to wait, because I hate filling forms for many reasons. Now, imagine that when you go to the bank, and every bank in Nigeria wants you to fill a form for everything. I don't know why. If you know them, please help us beg them. They want you to fill a form for every single thing. Now, when you go to the bank, you want to open an account, you fill your details, then they have to scan it, and then it follows a couple of processes to when your account is opened. And then when your account is opened, a couple of other things are attached to it. You may get a card, you may get an account, you will get an account number, you may get a card, and a couple of other things happen. Now, from that point where you filled the form, they've collected a lot of info from you when you fill that form. Some more modern banks will just collect your BVN or NIN, and then they grab all that info from there. So whether you used your automated process or you manually fill the form, data is extracted one way or the other. And data is extracted from either the BVN platform or the form that you filled, and is input into your banking platform's database. So I appear in Providence Bank today. They don't know anything about me. They just see this black guy standing in front of them. They don't know anything about me. I fill the form or I fill the app, and then that app populates a lot of info. All that is automation, because typically what would have happened is that somebody would have needed to type the name. Hey, what's his name? Tosin. Shobukola, man, black, age. Type in all that info. Now, by means of an API call or website interaction, I don't want to use the hardcore word so that people can understand, they connect to each other. And when they connect to each other, they impute that data. And now Providence Bank now puts my data into their database. And then there's some kind of workflow to say, is he owing money somewhere? Or is he a real Nigerian? Then somebody will check my document, somebody will check my passport and all that. Now, all those things are there, and they will say, if my passport has expired, reject. Typically, the banking officer will look at my driver's license. Your driver's license is expiring next week, sir. Do you have another document? Do you have BVN? Do you have NIN? Do you have voters card? All that. Now, instead of us doing all that, UBA used to have a system called GSS. And then first sent FCMB used to also have another system. When they implemented it, they sacked a lot of people. This was in 2009, 2010. Now, UBA has that system called GSS that automates this process. FCMB, I don't know what they call their own platform, but I think every First Bank, GTB, a lot of banks have this platform that they call Process Maker. Process Maker does all that automation today and does all that workflow. In your office, when you want to go for leave, you fill it in a platform. It goes to your manager, your manager's managers. If you are collecting leave allowance, they notify somebody, and then all that. All that today is automation. In the days of our daddies and mommies, you will write a letter and they'll carry it from desk to desk. Now, files don't get lost anymore. The person just says he's not doing your work. In the ministry, files don't get lost where they've digitalized. Files don't get lost, so they don't use that excuse. They just say they're not doing your work, and you have to see them. Right. That's because what? Automation has helped us. But we now get to a situation where we need to make some quick decisions. I remember Gbolabo and I, very, very far back, about 12 years ago, went for a database activity monitor training in those days when it was new as part of our PCI DSS fulfillment. And it was an Israeli software that was looking at the database activities and telling us whether it was a fraudulent activity or not. And if it's a fraudulent activity, it will flag it. If it was not a fraudulent activity, it will go. After Gbolabo left, some people used that to hunt me to say, what was I doing in the database at 2 a.m. when I was doing the deployment? So that was a flag to say what's going on. Now, we now begin to see those kind of situations where these automated tools are now getting smarter. So today, I could be sitting in London and use my card on a website to do a transaction on Amazon.com. Then I quickly remember that, oh, light will soon finish, meter will soon finish. Then I quickly go to quickteller.com to buy credits for my people. That's one website in the UK, one website in Nigeria. Then I remember that, oh, my aboki needs some money for something, and I go to the ATM outside, I withdraw money. If somebody clones my card, and within 10 minutes of those 3 transactions, try to use my card in Kano or in the UK, those transactions are going to fail. Why? Automation with a lot of rules has said the distance between Lagos and Abuja or Lagos and UK is at least 5 hours, 2 hours by flight, or 5 hours by flight. And it is not possible for a physical transaction to happen here now, and in 10 minutes, another physical transactions. Gbolabo and Nihinlola know what I'm talking about very much. That's fraud detection. So it will block it. But it's possible. The system also is trained to know that I can use it on my website. I can use it on a German website, an American website, a Nigerian website, and a British website, all in the space of 1 hour. And that's fine because they know I can sit in one spot and do that. That's still automation and intelligence. But now we get to a situation where we now put some super intelligence into our workflows, whereby the action that our system is going to take is not predetermined. It's no more predetermined.
Yeah.
You are filling a form and, okay, no, that's automation. Somebody makes a call, and then after a missed call, somebody is trying to get the cleaner or the barber or the roofing person or the plumber. And when that person misses a call, a system goes around and calls him, which is an AI system, calls him, collects the information, does some necessary customer service stuff, searches documents, and gets information from existing documents, which we call retrieval augmentation generation or something. We call it RAG, and does some automated stuff and gives the person the information it's going to use. Or it sees that it has searched the system, it does not find something, it goes to call an engineer, transfers the case to an engineer. It doesn't transfer it to a cybersecurity engineer because it's a hosting problem or it's a plumbing problem. He knows that it's a maintenance engineer that needs to take this call. So based on rules, based on some stuff, the system is now intelligent enough to take decisions on its own without the information of humans. Nobody is lining up to do it, and it can do it at the speed of tech, of course. Now, that is what we begin to call agents. In some cases, it is an agent in one platform calling another agent on another platform, and they're just doing like a basketball game where they are doing a moonshot across the basketball court to each other to fulfill a solution. So in summary, automation is systems doing what humans will have done automatically, but agents is a notch higher than automation, where the steps are not necessarily predefined, but the system is intelligent enough to take a decision based on whatever scenario it finds on ground. Of course, it still has to learn those things, but it's now not waiting for human interaction before it does those things. That was a TED talk, but I hope it makes sense.
Absolutely. Oh my God. Thank you so much. That was great.
You're welcome.
I think I'm having an echo. Where am I having that? Yeah. All right. So I'm going to mute you to yes. I think the echo is coming from me. All right. I mean from Tosin. Okay. All right. Thanks so much, Tosin. This is great, and I really love the walkthrough, and also I would say the workflow of your of how you narrated the AI agent, and it is so. I want to ask is it safe to assume that Siri is a form of AI agent? Just to make it home to our audience. You might have to unmute yourself again. I just want to ask you that. Yeah.
I would not say Siri is an AI agent. I would still class Siri as an automation entity. I'll still class Siri as an automation entity because Siri is just automating a lot of things so far. But depending on what Siri is doing, because at some point, Siri will do agentic work because they are not, I mean, Apple is not going to deploy another solution. So let me give an example quickly. Siri, what's the time? That's automation. Siri, what's the weather? That's automation. Siri, why is it cold in Nigeria and hot in America? That's automation. It's going to just check a database somewhere, the same way Alexa does. But when you now say, you play some music for Siri, it listens, then it goes to search based on some parameters. That is beginning to step into the boundaries of agentic, which was Shazam. We used to have that tool called Shazam, which Apple bought. It will listen to music, and then when it listens to music, it goes to generate that. That's beginning to go into the level of agency. There's a tool called Notebook LM. If you upload some PDFs into it, you can actually generate a podcast. That is at the brink of agentic because, yes, of course, it's using some coded rules, like it's programmed rules to generate the podcast, but it never really knew what books you were going to upload. It never really knew what content you were going to upload. I could have uploaded 5 documents, I could have uploaded 2 documents, but it immediately generates a 30-minute podcast between 2 or 3 people talking. That is the beginning of agentic. So Siri, at some point, will begin to do agentic, but for now, it would be doing more automation. But as we mature, it will start doing a mix of both.
All right. I think that this is really clear. Thank you so much for
I think Nihinlola wants to say something.
All right, so you got me on the spot there. Yeah, thanks, Tosin. Just a quick one. So I think Siri has actually moved towards that, and I tell you why. You see a lot of automated homes these days, and you also see a lot of yeah, you know, so they do
smart
things.
homes.
Pardon? Smart homes,
You
yeah.
said, yeah.
Smart homes, yeah. And you find out that they can actually navigate between rooms and items. So, you know, open my window blinds, do this, cover me up and all of that. So I think I agree with, Tosin. It's actually gradually getting into being an AI agent, because it can actually pull data from so for instance, we say pulling data from window blinds to, making sure that the refrigerator is cold enough, or making sure that, the dog has had its meal today and all of that. So, I mean, fantastic. Well done, Tosin. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Ellie, for that. All right, so I think we'll be moving on. Our time slides. So I want Timi to just quickly touch on this. In the realm of e-commerce and financial, that's Timi. What does agentification of AI, what does it mean to you in the realm of e-commerce? Because I know you play very well there, and the financial services. What are the implications for transformation? Are they beneficial or are they detrimental?
Yeah, I mean, they are both beneficial and in some cases detrimental in the short run, right? Not in the long run. However, AI agentification, I believe, I'm not techie. I'm a finance guru, finance expert. So I'm going to explain it the commercial way. Basically, the way I see it operate is, when say like a software or a code or a language, when it operates independently, right? Within defined parameters, and then it leverages on data, machine learning, and some codes or some languages to process or execute tasks, and make informed decisions on behalf of human beings without human interaction. And I've seen this play out very well, and I'm going to give practical examples, right? For example, I know that we've seen chatbots and virtual shopping assistants, even for banks now, when you go online, whether on your phone or on your laptop, you want to do a transaction, you quickly see a chatbot or a virtual assistant asking you, what do you want to do? And in fact, if you say, I want to check my balance, for example, on Bank of America, we have this assistant called Erica, and then Erica actually checks your account balance for you without you logging into your account, and then just tells, this is it, blah, 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 and gives you all that information without, I think there's a way they did it. It already knows your laptop code or your mobile phone, so it knows it's you or something like that, and it gives you that information, right? In Sabi, I've seen it play out. I remember, initially when Sabi was a startup, because Sabi is now scaling up, right? When Sabi was a startup and we did marketplace, Sabi marketplace, when we did it, then initially I had set up a team of 10 that were pricing analysts. We call them pricing analysts. So what do? Because, on Sabi market, the distributors, the wholesalers, the retailers, they would go on the platform, and then they would, they want to buy, and they need a supply. So they place their orders there. And then when they place their orders, we get to supply them through, our sister company, Loft, that is also owned by the group, right? So we had this team of pricing analysts, that would go into the markets. It was daily. They would go into the markets to go and confirm the current prices of commodities. For example, Golden Morn, Milo, Bonvita. It's a very long list, and they have to go. So we had those pricing analysts. Some are stationed in Mile 2, some are stationed in Akpogbo, scattered around the geographical constituency, right? When we started with Lagos, before we started expanding, right? And then every day they needed to, update it on an Excel file from their phones. That was more like a live sheet, internally. I'm not a cyber guru. I'm not an IT guru. I mean, the IT team, tech team, led by by Kazim Olanipeko, they would do the magic, and then that would update a particular massive database, and from there goes to Power BI, and then so that we can have an informed decision on the price of a particular commodity as at that time, and then we can now calculate the margin, the agreed margin on it to sell it. So we calculate the margin, and then it has to be uploaded again. And then once it is uploaded, then we now, and then, the buyers come, and then they see the price, and, they purchase the items, right? They place their orders. Now, we had a lot of delays in that process. And then after a while, suddenly the tech team, they just came up with one solution that, I understood it like a change in business model, and before we knew it, that particular solution rendered a team of 10, rendered them jobless immediately. Why? Because they didn't need to, this was real under me, because I had to start looking for other opportunities in the business to fix this. These human beings that we suddenly didn't need them to route the market again every day. In Sabi, I remembered that, we've always operated hybrid. And then when people are working remotely, they will still be physically on the field, in the markets, routing the markets, trying to, and, the work was, they would go to like 5 or 10 wholesalers to compare prices before they say, this is the price of this commodity. They calculate average price. There was a lot of, and then, the tech team just came up with that solution. I saw it as a change in business model or something, and we didn't need to do that again. we didn't need to do that again. And of course, eventually, we had to scrap that team, of course, absorb them. We had to upskill them. And these are the realities. These are the realities that come to play when we're talking about agentification of AI, because whatever solution it is would just, it goes wherever. I don't know what it's doing. I just know it picks all the prices. It calculates the average. It says, okay, this is the price and this is the margin, and then makes and then it automatically, decides, makes an informed decision and decides that, okay, this is the price this should sell, and updates on the updates on the platform, and the buyers, they see the price we're selling it at, and then they buy. So that's another real life example, right? And then when it comes to inventory management, agents, basically AI agents. I mean, sorry if I mix up the the buzzwords, right? So they also they are able to predict reorder levels. In finance, there's when it comes to inventory management, because when we started as a startup, we were keeping inventory, and then as the technology was improving, as the technology improved, rather, then most of these things fizzled out. Currently, in markets, we don't have any physical inventory, right? And then why is that? I mean, so the technology keeps moving up. Yeah, basically, right? So when it comes to reorder level, I remember then we would manually, of course, you had to build a lot of financial models. Oh, just put this here, and before you know it, you get your economic order quantity, your reorder level. You must have this buffer inventory, you must have that, and then based on all that, we get to know the commercial team. They get to know, oh, we need to reorder this now. We need to, based on the Excel models that we do and all that, but suddenly we didn't need all that again. Why? Because somewhere, somehow in the system, and forgive my the buzzwords or the language I'm using, right? But somewhere, somehow in the system, it just does something at the back end, and it comes out and says, you know what, do this. This is the quantity you need to buy in, or this is quantity that is needed, and blah blah, and so on and so forth. So you see, it's beyond automation, because it's it's making an informed decision, because automation would be our financial models, the files that we have, the Excel files that we have, that once you go into the input sheet or the data sheet, and then you input what you've the data you've gathered from the market, from the field, then the automation comes in, all the iterations happens on the Excel file, and then you are able to now take a decision based on what the result it's giving you. However, this time around, you are not even using your financial model. You are not going to gather from the streets, from the markets. Everything is just dynamically moving. So I think that's the right word. It just keeps moving like that, right? And I remember as well, I touched base on the financial industry. I spoke about Bank of America, that would show you your account balance, or if you want to transfer funds, or if you want to resolve issues, and there would be no human intervention, in that. Also, fraud detection. I believe Tosin had said a lot. Tosin said a lot, on that as well. I also know of robo advisors. I just read it somewhere, basically. However, what are the implications? Of course, what we have seen in Sabi is enhanced efficiency. Then we see scalability. And that's one of the things that is helping Sabi to scale up, actually. Why? Because there was so much we could handle as human beings. And then we would say, okay, if we have this number of thousands of orders daily, how would we be able to, how many headcounts would we need to be able to do this? However, with the improvement in technology, in the tech, that is being, the tech solution that is being churned out, from the Sabi tech team, right? Where we are able to scale faster, right? We're able to handle large larger, volumes, bigger volumes of tasks without compromising on quality, right? I gave an example earlier of pricing agents, versus the systems dynamic pricing agent, which is now an AI agent and not the physical analysts, that we once had as a full team, full department, in the organization then. And then, of course, it aids proactive decision making, right? And of course, I've highlighted one of the lowlights, which is job displacement, speaking to managers as well. So as we ensure we are forward looking, as we go on in that regard, we have to start looking for opportunities to upskill our team members, or upskill, once we know where the buck stops in the nearest 1 year, 6 months, 3 months, 2 years, then we start upskilling our teams so that when that time comes and they need to drop all these repetitive tasks and so on and so forth, then they will be ready to take on, take on the role as finance, as business partners with the agent AIs as well, to work together in collaboration. So that's job displacement. On the low side, also we have privacy concerns. Of course, I'm not able to speak much on that. I believe Gbolabo will be able to help us in that regard, right? But I know there are privacy concerns, and I know that we had a lot of compliance forms from compliance. They started sending to us, sign this, sign that, read through this. This is the policy. They were updating the policy, just to ensure data privacy, 100% compliance with data privacy regulations, and guidelines and so on and so forth. Of course, one of the downsides, which I've not seen really, but which I know exists, is over dependence on AI agents. It's not good, and it could lead to human oversight. Why? Because I mean, we feel, the system that I spoke about, the tech solution I spoke about earlier for pricing, dynamic pricing, so once it's done, we have this weekly check, that we just run just to be doubly sure. We look at the parameters again and so on and so forth. We are not coders. We don't write all this C#, C++, or Java. We don't write that, but we just check the parameters to see and do our manual calculation. We just take a sample, and then do that and see that, okay, everything is still fine, so that if for any reason somewhere in the future there is something that is not fine, we can quickly highlight it to the tech team, and then they can quickly step in and correct it. I think the right word for that is maybe all these algorithms, something like that, right? And yeah, I mean, but I told you I'm not tech. I don't write codes, but I'm bringing the field, the market, the reality of, to the common man, and how it works, right? And so on and so on and so forth. So I mentioned Amazon earlier, of course, JP Morgan Chase as well. Their platform uses agentic AI as well, to review legal documents, and extract key information. This, before now, everything you want to do, we want to do is either before, like 10, 20 years before JP Morgan, you have to send maybe hard copy, you said this, but, with the advent of technology, you just do the PDF, you initially will print PDF, sign and scan, send, and then after a while, we started doing DocuSign, we'll do the DocuSign, and then, we send, and then, but now, it just, the whole process is seamless, and it reduces the time spent, and I believe as well that on the from an internal perspective, speaking of JP Morgan Chase employees right now, it would have greatly reduced their their man has as well, right? And their operational efficiency, I mean, from a customer perspective, is better, and we have better service from them, and so on and so forth, like that. So I think in a nutshell, that's the thought, and the real hands-on, using agentic AI, in the e-commerce field and finance sector. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Timi. I know you have a lot to tell us. Thank you so much, and I love the use cases you've just you talked about there in terms of JP Morgan and even your own organization, how the transformation from a manual process to an automation process, and sometimes what you're looking at right now, even intelligent automation. Very well said. Thank you so much. I'll be moving on to Gbolabo, and my question to him would be cybersecurity in the age of AI. Are organizations really ready? How do the AI agents impact cybersecurity and threat detection? Is there any potential security vulnerabilities and AI-enabled cyber attack we should be aware of today as we embrace this new reality of artificial intelligence? Because I would say this is a revolution of artificial intelligence, really. We knew when artificial intelligence came up, we saw the way it worked, and now there's been some form of advancement around it. And if there are any kind of vulnerabilities or AI-enabled cyber attack that organizations should be aware of in this age, what strategies should they implement to secure AI agents and safeguard their enterprise system? And so that's the question for you, Gbolabo.
All right, thank you, Jumoke. A lot has been said. Usually, when the cybersecurity guy comes, he's a bit of like the wet blanket, or the guy that is supposed to sort of realign. But these days, what we see is how, from a cybersecurity perspective, we've become an enabler tribes, successfully putting adequate controls in place. So AI agents typically, they are impacting cyber risk and threat detection from a speed perspective. So today is enabling faster, more accurate analysis of data, because usually we collect a lot of security activities on systems, logs, and it's a lot of data. And transforming that data to actionable, resources for you at times takes a long time. And with AI, we've been able to streamline that to a good number of time, and also identifying patterns, anomalies that usually might be missed, by traditional systems. Most security solution providers today now have enhanced, optimized their systems. Some have even transformed the system to be like native AI systems to eventually enhance proactive defense, even from an offensive security perspective. But however, introducing the innovation also introduces the new risks of possible adversarial attacks, when the threat actor manipulates an AI model, for example, and you can't necessarily identify it quickly. And these examples of this is data poisoning or evasion attack. For data poisoning, we're in the age of a lot of disinformation. And so the question is, what sort of information is put into the system for it to be operationalized? And if you don't put the right information in the system, they poison the system, every outcome is going to be negative and won't be what you expect. So here we're saying organizations must ensure the AI systems, the enterprise systems are robust against such exploits. And so what are those potential vulnerabilities or AI-enabled cyber attacks that we should be aware of? The king of it is the model exploitation. So different AI models are in the wild. Some are commercial, some are utilized by some of the big players. And attackers would easily exploit any poorly trained model or a biased AI model and can effectively manipulate the outcomes. And, this can lead to, I think an example I can give is when there was some gist sometime last year about some AI models being racists, where if you Google, if you search, and it will come up with a black person, if it's something relating to maybe slavery or manual labor or something a bit third world, and in fact, someone recently tried to get AI to generate something with regards to Trump, and the AI won't come up with Trump because it had to come up with an image that looked like him. But so in a way, they've been trained, it's biased to an extent, and it will affect the outputs. And you can imagine the effect that would have for large-scale operations and businesses with a lot of customers. Another vulnerability is data integrity, which is known already. But the difference now is, like Tosin has mentioned, not too many people, so how many people know about these AI systems? And a lot of people are just embracing it and just leveraging and are expecting that all the outcomes there would work in their favor and are not thinking of the integrity of the data they are working with or where the data is being searched from. And so today, AI agents rely on data, and if that data is compromised, the entire system is at risk. So the question is, what kind of data is being fed into the models, into the AI systems, and then how are we sure the outcomes we are getting are not compromised? So that's really key too. Also, automated attacks. So in leveraging automation, we get to the point where, yes, we're using it to automate, fast track, or reduce, human intervention. But, AI can be weaponized. And when it's weaponized, it will be launched. There's no human intervention. It feels like business as usual until the actual outcome of, a possible denial of service, of course, large-scale phishing attacks, and the speed is astronomical, and the responses to which is, and before you know it, the less tech-savvy people or less informed people are responding and are falling for some of these schemes. And yes, it can be disastrous. So just the same way innovation is exciting, it helps bring some positive outcomes. It also can spread an amazingly extensive negative outcomes. An example I would give you is a bit corny, but a lot of people will be able to relate to it. So there's a series that is popping on Netflix now, 0 Day, and they would need intense speed for them to be able to spread the messages to everybody's phone for the attack. And I think the attack is saying something like, "Oh, you've been attacked, and this will happen again." As in, they have access to the enterprise systems. Of course, they're living technology and automation. And based on access, they could shut down the systems, traffic systems shut down, supply chain systems shut down, the banking systems shut down, and then you can push messages to everybody's phone. You will need some level of automation to ensure everybody receives the message at the same time, and every system is attacked at the same time. So the same way you enhance systems, the same way systems can be breached. And I'm sure if you watch, so not to spoil it for people that haven't seen it. So when you watch, you would see some steps that were taken, especially from a cybersecurity perspective or human intervention to curb, the attack. So what are those strategies that can be implemented to secure, AI agents, and safeguard enterprises leveraging, specific AI models? And I think the first thing will be to train the models to recognize and have the ability to resist malicious inputs. So in a way, for developers, and I'm sure Tosin can relate to this, it's input validation, specific tests that can be carried out to let you know that, this is a malicious input and the outcomes can be positive. So, and yeah, the trainings can be extensive, and it should be extensive, and it should be done. So train models to recognize and be able to resist malicious input. So not just take everything, because garbage in, garbage out. So what we're saying is, how do we ensure the models are not taking garbage in? That has to be put in place. Next is, used to be a buzz, but now it's very operational, at least as a cybersecurity provider. We need a lot of customers that have implemented this, have made requests, and we're helping them implement this. Is establishing zero trust frameworks. And basically, this is implementing strict access controls and continuous monitoring for AI systems, extending it to the AI systems, strict access controls, continuously monitoring, and not just expecting that the systems would optimize and continue to manage themselves. Because whoever has access to it is who is controlling and feeding specific models. Also, that's where the controls for the kind of data that is fed into the models. if at all there's an incident, you will be able to track effectively from that who had access to what at what time, at when it happened, and be able to, trace your steps back. Another strategy that would work is explainable AI. And basically, this is just ensuring transparency, in decision making, and this would really help to identify and be able to mitigate risk. Explainability can be overstated. It's really important. You need to be able to understand how that decision was made, or why this outcome happened this way. It also helps the user get that understanding of how the system works and appreciate it more. Then finally, I would say, collaboration, which is just from an industry perspective, sharing threat intelligence, across, the industry to stay ahead of AI-driven threats, which means every player from Sabi to that next fintech or that next supply chain provider should be able to share information on specific activities, specific threats from an AI perspective, and how it was curbed or remediated. I know this is an issue in Nigeria today, but I think we're getting there, at least informally. But we need to get to the level where, from a community perspective, we can share information on, hey, we've implemented this technology and we were impacted this particular way. And these were the things we did to curb or, revoke, push back, or prevent it, properly. So that's what I would say for, implementing strategies to secure AI agents and, safeguarding enterprises. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. I mean, I also like the fact that you make mention of the part of the explainable AI. I mean, a process for us to be able to uncover or understand what really AI is giving us, and for us to make a decision if this is really the right output that we should be having. It's quite very important. Thank you. And I also like the fact that you made mention of that we should be able to track any of the changes or any of the things that is done, which brings me to a follow-up question, because I'm saying that also in the chat window, someone was really asking, do we really have control over security in AI? And then so when you talk about automated cyber attacks, are we looking at it from an aspect to say that it might be something we might not have control over if we can only just manage or monitor? It's not like we can respond quickly to it. I just want to help me with that, based on also the question that somebody is saying, that do we really have control over security in AI?
So to a good extent, yes. So if you ask me today that, well, can you promise me that by the time I give you $100 million, you will keep me secure 100%? I will say no. Or I can keep you 99.5%, and I would ensure we respond quickly when you get, hit. So the question now is that when you see the automated attack pick up, so that's the situation around having an effective incident response plan for your enterprise AI systems, for example, having specific controls to be able to mitigate, stop, and then, curb it, and then recover and continue business. So yes, it would happen. Monitoring helps you pick it up quickly. You get, and I'll give you an example. There's a way the model is supposed to respond, and then there's an outcome that is expected. Based on this new reaction, this is a new part. And guess what? There's a monitoring systems, especially from a security incident and event monitoring perspective. There's something we call user activity monitoring, and basically it's tracking for anomaly. And over time, leveraging the same technology that brought AI to the fore, machine learning, it helps you track and monitor activities of specific systems. Yeah. And when there's a change in pattern, that no, this system doesn't act a specific way, something has changed. Most likely it's an input. Most likely it's something switched on. And then you can now track back. So first is, this has started, you stop it, and then you can track what has changed. And then you will now go into all your access control, who did what, when was it done. And then you clean system, and then you continue operations. And going forward, that pattern, and you block that pattern going forward. And the new one comes from a 0-day perspective. You identify it, you stop, and then you learn it. And then the systems also give a leeway for possible patterns like that could come up and would flag it. It might be a false positive. Track it as a possible, threat, incident, an alarm. You raise that and you curb it, and then you roll. You stop it going forward. So continuous monitoring helps you identify quickly, and then you curb, respond, continue business, continue monitoring, continue protecting. So it's a loop, as in you would always need it. There's no permanent security, for example. There would always be new attack vectors, new threats in the wild that you need to respond quickly to, and put controls in place for.
All right. Thank you so much, Gbolabo. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you. And then I would like to move on to Ellie. When you talk about governance, I mean, this is one woman that I have learned governance. Like governance should be a middle name. Every now and then, she's very top on governance. So I'm just going to be talking to Ellie right now on data governance strategies. And I think this question will also speak to the answer to this question. I mean, we speak to the question somebody put in the chat window. I mean, we see that with AI agents today they can autonomously undo data, and they can undo data-driven tasks, really. What do you think, Kelly, that should organization do around rethinking their data governance strategies? Considering also the fact that with the agentization in AI, you can actually redefine the way data are collected today, they are processed, and even how they are utilized within organizations. So what will you tell us, or what will you help organization with in terms of how they rethink their data governance strategy?
Thank you very much, Jumoke. Of course, I mean, any organization that is not even thinking about re-strategizing when it comes to data governance with AI around is just an organization waiting to fail. So the various areas that we can actually re-strategize, and re-strategization, just like I said earlier, is mandatory. So we need to start by looking at what I call data ownership and accountability. Just like Bola had said, you need to know the data that is coming in, who is working with this data, who is accountable. Despite the fact that it's even an AI agent that is processing that data, there has to be accountability. Which AI agents perform this particular role on this data to give this particular outcome? Remember that he also mentioned something about, when AI was being initially, when AI came out, and you have biased outputs showing when it has to do with a particular race, showing a particular incident. So you need to be able to identify that. You need to be able to hold AI agents accountable for any output that it comes out, just like you want to hold a human being accountable, since AI agent is going to do the processing of that particular data, right? So it's very important to have that accountability, and it's very important to also have that ownership when it comes to building a strategy around data governance. Because right now, of course, there's an ISO around AI that talks about I think ISO 42001, that talks about the governance around AI ethics and all of that, and also talks about data. Because again, you need to also ensure that you track that data. Just like Bola said, you can't just have your AI agentic on and you go to sleep, despite that the AI agentic is going to look at the anomalies and immediately fix the issue. Some fix the issue, but even with that, you still have to ensure that you monitor, and review it. Another strategy I think that organizations to start looking at when it comes to data and governance around AI is the data quality and integrity. Because you know what they say, garbage in, garbage out. So if the quality of the data set that you're modeling is bad, obviously, the outcome is going to be bad, and the decision that the AI will bring out would be false negative. So it's very important to look at the quality of the data. It's just like a pharmaceutical company, using data data that is not that has integrity issue, or data that is not clean, or data that is not that is not it's not pure data, you know what I mean, and you're using that to model a particular medication or a particular what's it called now, maybe
Prescription.
like prescription, obviously it's going to chunk out, the output is going to chunk out to be false, and that can affect certain aspect of some people's life that have that particular ailment. So it's very, very important to ensure that the data quality, there's a strategy around data quality, data integrity, and ensuring that data collection is very, very there's a standard around data collection. When you label that data, when you collect that data, it's sitting at the right place, because what the AI agentic is going to do is to pull data from the data that is exposed to it, from the data set, and it's going to model that data and give you what you want. So all that has to be part of the strategy when organizations are developing data strategy around the governance and all of that. Again, I'm going to talk about security, just a bit of what Bola has said. Security and privacy, that has to be part of the data governance strategy for any organization. You have to ensure that your data is in line with either GDPR, KDPR, NDPR, whatever country you are, because again, you don't want to use someone's data and expose the individual, or collecting data that you don't need, or you're using data without the individual's consent. So all that has to be in the policy as well, just to ensure that the AI you're using, the AI agent you're using, is also conforming to both regulatory, legal, and even the company strategy as well. You can't build a data strategy or an IT strategy or a security strategy outside the company strategy anyway. So you have to ensure that data security, data privacy is also, encompassed in that data strategy that you're building. Another strategy again would be the processing, just like I'd mentioned. I know, I think it was Timi that mentioned it, or maybe Tosin, I guess, that said, he'll fill a form and they'll ask for so many questions. You wonder why you go to banks today and they say you have to give them your mother's maiden name. And I'm wondering, what do I need that information? What do you need that information for? So it's gotten to a stage that when I go somewhere, or I want to access an organization, and you have to either digitally fill a form or manually write your information. I would either not write that information, and if they insist, I don't write the complete information, because you haven't told me what you need my data for. So I don't go to your organization and you collect my data and you don't tell me what you need that data for. It's not going to work. Is it that I don't get into that entity, or I don't give you the right data, because I need to know who is in charge of my data. I need to know who is keeping my data. I need to know what you want to process that data for. So you want to know, yes, I'm going to be coming into your institution, and you want to have that information in case anything happens. So why are you asking me for my address? You have my phone number. With my phone number, you can retrieve anything you want to retrieve. You can go to any of my telco provider to say, okay, I need the detail of this person. So why are you asking for so many information? Because again, don't forget that while they are processing the data, especially those that process manual data, the next person that is going to sign, and that's where it gets me so upset, because you have this information in your so-called, and you find that in organizations that are supposedly techie, they tell you to fill a form when you're coming in, and right immediately behind you, there's another person trying to fill the same form. Obviously, that guy is going to see my information, just like I'm seeing the previous people's information. So I need to understand why you have to expose my data. And again, because we don't really, take people to court, we don't, have court cases when it comes to data privacy and all of that. A lot of people get away with it, and that has to stop. Another strategy that needs to be embedded in data governance strategy is the ethical AI behavior. AI ethics is very big right now, and this is an area that I'm really, doing a lot of research around. You find out that, people just decide to do anything and everything with AI because they're so excited about what AI is doing, and they're not even looking at the ethical aspect of it. So you're getting my information in the hospital, and you're now using that information to process another thing, and to me, I feel it's not ethical, because you need to actually get my consent, or have be sure that this thing will not, whatever information whatever outcome of that information will not harm me, because you putting it on the social media. What if I'm anti-social media, and you're putting my information there to say, oh, we had 10 visitors that came to, or 10 patients that came to our organization today, the one, our name is LA, and all of that. That's unethical, because you're not supposed to put my information out there. But these are some of the things that most organizations don't look at when they're processing, when they're using AI, AI agents to process data. They feel, oh, why do we have to upgrade or enhance our data governance policy because we are using AI agents? It's very important, because these are the things that would help, you stand out, and also help you conform to best practice. There has to be transparency. You need to be able to explain to people or the stakeholders to say, look, this is the reason why we're collecting this data. This is what we're going to process this data for. This data is going to help you enhance your processes, even within the organization. So for instance, you're collecting, you're building an AI agent, where you collect data from maybe the finance, legal, marketing, and all of that. They need to understand why you need that information. So you don't go to HR and say, you know what, I need employee ID or employee information. What do you need that employee information for? There has to be transparency. Do you need the employee information to process, how many employees come in and out of the organization, how many employees rather come in and out of the organization daily? Then all you need is my employee ID, right? And maybe my name. But when there's no transparency, the, sorry to use the word, gullible HR personnel will just give you the entire, employee table. And you go there, you can see my date of birth, you can see when I, where I lived, you can see my schools and all of that, so there has to be transparency, and that has to be in the strategy as well. And of course, you can't take away compliance. Compliance is very huge when you're talking about your what's it called? Your governance and your data governance and your the strategy document. There has to be compliance. You have to ensure that if it's a financial institution where you work with card, there has to be your PCI DSS. If it's where you work with data, which is like almost every organization, your DDPR, your NDPR, whatever it is that as it pertains to your country, has to be embedded there. Then of course, you when you're talking about strategy as well, you also need to consider continuous improvement. I mean, I'm very big when it comes to continuous improvement, because for me, you have to keep learning. I mean, tech is evolving. You can't say, look, this is how we used to do it, this is how it is, and we are just going to be here. I hear Timi say, oh, maybe in the next three to 5 years we'll start upscaling people. 3 to 5 years is dangerous to upscale people. We have to do it now and now. Just like Gbolabo and Tosin had said, we have to keep monitoring, we have to keep upgrading, we have to continuously improve on it, because the bad guys are not they're like a step ahead. They're not waiting. They're not saying, oh, you know what, we've just released this attack, so let's just calm down and just relax. No, they're doing it like per second billing. You know how it is. So you need to also ensure that there's continuous improvement in your strategy. Your strategy should not be static. It has to be iterative. You have to keep reviewing whatever output, whatever decision the AI agent has made for you in your organization. It's a good remedy for you to be able to, improve on your strategy document. So it's absolutely very important for data governance strategy to be implemented in all organizations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ellie. When you talk about governance, the passion with it is something that I really admire. Thank you so much. And yes, you've touched a lot of points on how to ensure that data governance is improved even in this adoption of AI agents. More importantly, what is our compliance strategy? What is the ethical use of AI? And all of that. But I just want to quickly ask you a question. And this question, a lot of organizations, a lot of people ask. Maybe we can now be able to answer it in a broader spectrum. Does Nigeria as a country have any form of governance around AI, or probably maybe, a lot of people just want to know. So because we sometimes quote a lot of these GDPR and all of that, we know that some of them, but in terms of Nigeria, do we have any? I'm not even talking about AI agents, I'm talking about artificial intelligence or do we have some sort of compliance or regulatory or governance strategy around it that a body in Nigeria is already catering for?
All right, thank you, Jumoke. So there's an ISO around AI, and that's 42001, right? And that's a global ISO. Of course, it's global, it's international. Now, is Nigeria enforcing it? No. And you know how we are in Nigeria. If it's not regulatory, right, we don't see it as important. We just say, you know what, it's okay, we're fine. You understand? But if it's regulatory, you see a lot of organizations implement it. And do they implement it because they want to secure, or they want to follow best practice? Maybe not, but do they implement it because of regulatory fine and all of that? Absolutely, they do. So, but I'm hoping, I haven't heard of any, but I'm hoping that there'll be a ministry, just like we have the the NDPR, NDPRB, NDPB rather, the board, and we also have the
PCI,
data and all of that. I'm hoping that when we start embracing, not only Nigeria, Africa as a whole, when we start embracing the AI, and we start seeing the benefits of AI, would have like a body that would conform to the ISO standard, that will be able to implement the governance around AI, not because we want to be compliant, but because we want to ensure that AI is not going to put us into trouble, but rather would follow the best practice when it comes to AI. I'll say one thing quickly before I hand over to Tosin. I see Tosin's hand up. I've said in quite a number of forums that, look, if there's going to be another world war, right, it's not going to be weapon, it's going to be tech. So, and it's data. Data is no more gold, like they always say. Data is the breath of life. So if we see data as every breath that you take as very precious, as something that you need to guide with every of your strength and everything, then people will start making conscious efforts to know that whatever they're chunking out, whatever data they're collecting, whatever data sets that they're modeling into any AI, it has to be clean data. It has to be, it has to be good data, and so that the output or the outcome can work for everyone. So I'm hoping that there's going to be a body, in Nigeria very soon. I haven't heard of any, and I stand to be corrected, that would take this absolutely very serious, because embracing AI without having governance around this is like, what's the word? Sitting on a bombshell, So we need to take this extremely important. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ellie. All right, I see Tosin hand So Tosin, your hand is raised. I know the last time you already I mean you said something in line with what Ellie said, that the next war is going to be a war of technology or data and all of that. So I see your hand up. Please, let's have your thoughts on the question.
Thank you very much. I would just start from where LA stopped. So, like she said, data is not oil. Data is soil. So it is the soil. A lot of things grow from the soil. Good things, bad things, profitable things. So a lot of things grow from the soil, and that's exactly what data is today. Like I mentioned, there is no AI without data. Take it from me. So whatever AI you are talking about is from data. There is no strategy without data. Budgeting, economic trends, GDP, everything is all data. So even the country, as backwards as we are in Nigeria or in Africa, we still do budgeting. All that is data. Even if we are stealing the money, it is still data. So that's one thing. Like I mentioned in the last session, and Ellie rightly said, the last war, the next, if we get to that point, we have already seen that the last wars, the physical wars that we've had, were proxy wars. In fact, the wars that are going on currently are proxy wars. It's one country fighting two different people, proxy by proxy. And they are sponsoring it, but they don't even have any soldiers on the ground. That's proxy war. We saw what happened with DeepSeek in January, where about $500 billion was wiped off the stock market in one day. Even the DeepSeek is not as usable as it is, but just the quality, the kind of news that was shared with DeepSeek. DeepSeek still falls down every day. Oh, they did the research, but of course, news is always unconfirmed information, right? But that information wiped out the validity of NVIDIA, wiped out the stock market, and triggered a lot of things. They launched it on the inauguration day, very strategic. A lot of planning went into that launch, whether it was good or bad, or it was true or false. But that is what we'll begin to see when it comes to war. So that is that. Now, coming to policy, before I go into that, and let's also know this: America innovates, Europe legislates, China does scale. I'll say it again: America innovates and spends a lot of big money. Europe does the rules and regulation. Sometimes they stifle innovation, then they catch up with innovation later on, but they spend their early days regulating. But China is the king of scale. So when you want something to go to 1 billion users, you take it to China. But when you want to do that hard quality research, it typically happens in the United States. So we in Africa now need to find ourselves somewhere. The Middle East and parts of Asia, they are joining forces and investing. I don't know if I said it on the last call, but like the 500, we're hearing a lot of big numbers going on: 500 billion, 300 billion, 200 billion. The SoftBank owner is from, I think, Japan or Korea. So one way or the other, he's representing his country in the mix. MGX, which is a Dubai investment fund, and then I also know the PIA, which is the Saudi investment fund. They're investing heavily in AI. So one way or the other, even if they don't have the research capacity, they put their money. So their mouth is on the table, their legs is in the room, one way or the other. In Africa, we need to do better. But that said, we are not sleeping, actually. It's only that we are not moving at the speed that is required. We actually have a Nigeria AI governance documentation going in progress. Permit me to say I've looked at it, and while it is not a criticism, but it's also not exciting what I saw. We've released the first one summer last year, shortly after the AI regulation from Europe. A lot of intelligent people worked on it, so I'm not going to say it was rubbish, no, but I think it could have been better with the quality of people that were in the room. I don't know what stifled it. I looked at it. It was a strategy document with no roadmap, with no timelines and everything, but I don't know what was the details. I tried to get in, but I was not sure if So I can't blame them because I did not put my mouth on the table. So, but I think we can do better. I think Ethiopia also released one some time ago. A couple of African countries have released something, but one country, I cannot remember, somewhere in East Africa, has released their full AI policy and AI governance document. So we are getting there. But what I think we should do better is we're seeing a lot of young boys doing nice stuff with AI, but we're not seeing any government or entrepreneurial investments into AI. So this is not the time where you are going to put a leash on AI per se. This is the time where you should be investing. I have been looking forward to seeing a Mo Ibrahim, a Strive Mashiwaya, Strive, I've forgotten his full name, but the owner of Econet, that's the richest man in in Zimbabwe. Those kind of people, Mo Ibrahim, Dangote, putting in some good funds, even if it is 300 million, when other people are doing 10 billion, it's okay. Even if it's just 300 million query that they have put inside the thing, so that at least we too will know that we are spending money on AI. One way or the other, it will reach somewhere. The Tony Elumelus, it will have been nice for us to start seeing those investments. And this is where the West always trumps us. The West doesn't just consume. The West does a lot of heavy investment in R&D. So when you make mistakes, you know the mistake, you fail, you pick it up again. There's money to spend. For 10 years, some people are just going to be in a room breaking, fixing, spoiling, testing, tweaking, and all that. Look at what they said in China. DeepSeek built a model for, how much did they call it? Whatever the price is, which I don't believe is the true price. But that meant some people spent time to research something and to break a norm, no matter how small it was, right? So look at how old is Sam Altman, just 40, just had his first baby. But look at all he has been doing all his life. Look at all the investments he's clamoring for. And they're telling him he's spending for too much money. He's still asking for much more money. R&D, and that is exactly what we should be doing. We don't have that in Africa. So I look forward. So Europe has gotten out of the phase where they are legislating today. We've had an investment from France in the past 4 weeks or so. I think we've also had another investment from the UK into AI. Not a lot of money, but once they start spending, they've put the law in place, they've started spending, they have started effecting the law, because when DeepSeek came, though it was, I feel that was bias. A couple of countries, Ireland and Italy, sent a mail to DeepSeek to say prove and justify and all that. But at least because there's a law on ground to work with. So they have balanced something, whether it was a good approach or just bias or racism, they have done some things. So we back home need to do stuff. Nobody's going to build a GPT that teaches us how to speak our language. Nobody's going to build a GPT that teaches us about, so that they'll not come and tell us that Mongo Park discovered Lagos in 2075. If we don't do all these things now, that's the story that is going to happen again and again and again and again. Now that we are wiser, we need to start doing all these things. One last thing, and we said it on that course, like Nihinlola said, we have ISO 42001. Gbolabo, Nihinlola, please call me when the money starts coming in, because you're now going to have to start doing a lot of ISO certifications. Like we said on the other call, a lot of things that we have done have to be replaced. We all trust Microsoft. Yeah, so, but what is when Azure Cloud was coming out, I remember doing something at First Bank, where First Bank said, before we put our data on the cloud, we need to make sure it's encrypted. So I had to do database encryption at First Bank. Now, what is Copilot doing? Copilot is in your Office, Copilot is in your Dynamics, Copilot is in your SharePoint. What certification does Copilot have? We know Microsoft is a good company. Yeah, I'm not fighting them, but I'm only just asking a typical auditing question. What rights does Copilot have to go into my system? What security stuff does Copilot have? What is the back office of Copilot? Where is the data going? Who has access to Copilot data? All those kind of things. So those certifications need to happen again. The gentleman said Bank of America or which other bank was doing something and he dropped, that's automation anyway. It's not so much of agentic, but what is that agent doing, or what is that automation doing? Who verified it? who did all that. If you look at the self-driving car, even though it's autonomous, but because there's the risks to life and property, there's so much scrutiny on the self-driving car. That is AI agent at its peak. That's AI agent at its peak. Because when a car leaves its garage and it goes onto the road, it does not know what it's going to meet. It has been trained, yeah, but it doesn't know what it's going to meet. So it's going to make a decision to brake. It's going to make a decision to stop. It's going to make a decision whether it sees a red light. When somebody dashes across the road on the turn of red, it's going to make a decision to stop. That is AI agent at its peak. So what we are seeing now is that that's an expensive venture. We're now seeing the commoditization of those things in file opening, hospitals, offices, and all that. But who is certifying all those things? And they are touching various important areas of our life. So a lot of re-auditing is going to take place at some point, and there's a lot of money to be made. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Tosin. And also so let me help you. Microsoft will tell you, let me play the devil's advocate here. Microsoft is going to tell you that the data is yours. Copilot is only querying your own data. It's not going outside to pick the own data. And once it is your data, it's presenting back to you. So a lot of these questions also that you raise, I've also raised it in forum to say, at the end of the day, the results that it brings out, where does it store it? And then for somebody else to ask that result, ask that same question, then you provide that. Where does this store and then the answer was that it's your data, it's still your data. What Copilot does is that it just crosses through all your Microsoft productivity tools where you have all of your data, maybe from meeting, from Outlook, from chats and all of that, and that's what it's bringing out to you. So it's not like maybe it's taking your data anywhere. Well, that's, like I said, I'm playing the devil's advocate here. And hopefully
it's okay to say so. Sorry to interject you. Microsoft will tell you that, and it's okay. I don't have a problem with Microsoft per se, but there is a company that cannot afford Microsoft, right? There's a company that cannot afford Microsoft, and they're going to kind of build a kind of Copilot. There's a company that is going to copy Microsoft and sell a Copilot solution. I'm working on a project that extracts data from hundreds of PDFs and now puts it in a chatbot. So I'm going to tell you that when I come to your office to sell it to you, I'm going to tell you that it works like Copilot. Some people cannot afford Copilot for many reasons. I'm going to tell you it works like Copilot. But do I have the necessary data encryption? Am I putting it on-prem in a siloed LLM, or I'm throwing your data into ChatGPT's LLM so that somebody in Somalia can also query your corporate documents? You understand? So Microsoft will tell you all those stuff. Microsoft has policies and principles they operate by, so we can trust what they are saying. But the next person who is doing that, how are you sure they are not also using your data to build ads or selling your data to do other things? So it's a cycle that still needs to be broken. And I'm not saying this to fight Microsoft, of course. It's a mothership for me.
Absolutely.
But it's a question that we need to ask, and it just has to be done from head to toe. The big Fortune 500s need to answer, the startups need to answer it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And then I think I'm looking at time. We're 30 minutes behind time, to be honest. And we still have a lot of questions, but I think that we'll take this forward probably maybe next month, and the conversation will continue. I just want us to quickly touch on some of the questions I'm seeing in the chat window because of time. I think to some of them there's been answered. It's been answered. How can companies ensure AI compliance with data protection laws? I think that has been said with Gbolabo. Do we really have control over security? Yes, I think I'll post that later on. And then talking about data governance, when organizations begin to prioritize AI agents and sell these agents out to large markets, how can businesses ensure that the AI agent is fully data privacy compliant? Tosin, do you want to touch on that? I think that's a question from Sunday. Hello, can you still hear me? Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, all right. So there's a
Yes.
part of, yes, for data governance. I think earlier yourself can touch on this, talking about data governance when organization begins to privatize AI agent and sell these agents out to large market. How can businesses ensure that the AI agent is fully data privacy compliant?
Okay, let me just say a bit about this, and maybe Tosin will just round it off. So I tell you what, there's a pool of AI. I mean, there's a pool of resources now where they have like AI agents. So what? Okay, let me explain this. You know, when you sit somewhere, you're doing remote job for, whatever country you want to do remote job for. Now there are AI agents that are doing remote jobs. So people have built AI agents and they're putting them out there to say, look, if you need a remote job, these AI agents will do it for you. It's cheaper and all of that. And she's talking about building. It's already in the system. I'm just trying to, emphasize on that people have already built AI agents and they're making killer money to get, people are subscribing in thousands. They rather work with those agents and all of that. And just like the question you asked, so for me, data privacy. So I'm buying these resources, to work for me, to do a job for me, to build an app, and we'll do it with maybe $10, and we'll do it in like 2 hours, right? For instance. Now, what happens to my information? Where is my information? Where's the data privacy? Yeah, I'm going to sign NDA with that guy. I'm going to sign SLA and sign all the other stuff. Probably have data privacy on his as part of his policy that he's going to share with me on his website and all of that. But again, going back to what Tosin said, how am I sure that my data is not going to be used for marketing tool? Obviously there's no way. I mean, it just takes the grace of God for them to say, in all sincerity, we are not going to do that. So where do they draw the line? How many people have the strength or the muscle to come up with legal actions against those companies to say, you know what, I signed this with you. I hired one of your AI agents that did a job for me, and I realized that my data was compromised, and I'm going to sue you. How are you going to sue that kind of company that is already making hundreds of millions of dollars? So most times people just, take it as faith and just move on and just assume that, hopefully I'll be more careful when I'm looking at signing up with other organizations. So what we can do, or what you can do as an individual, is to also ensure that, your data, your information you're giving is just information to process that whatever products that you want, or whatever activity that AI agent is giving to you. Do not give more than that information, because you realize that a lot of people, I don't know if it's out of laziness, I don't know if it's out of, I don't know, whatever, ignorance, they ask for one thing, they just chunk out everything, that, what, this is all we have, sort it out, take whatever you want and all of that. So we need to be conscious about the data that we're chunking out there, because they're going to use this data whether you like it or not. So how much of your information, the information that you don't want exposed, that you cannot tell, information that I can't tell Tosin, then I shouldn't put it out there, But as soon as you know that the information you're putting out there is something that you don't care if Tosin or MJ or Gbolabo or anybody or Timi sees it, then, you can't hold anybody accountable. So right now we have to be our own compliance audit person as you chunk out your data and your information. So I just want to let this person know that, look, it's already out there. We already have the AI agents that are doing the jobs and the roles of, human beings, and privatization. Yeah, Oyo, like they say. So over to you, Tosin.
Okay, thank you very much. I agree 100% with what you've said, but I would now take it a little bit further. So the first thing is, we cannot afford to not be savvy anymore. Who was I speaking with today? A lot of people are mobile phone and tablet savvy, but they don't know what's going on the PC. Put them on the PC, they're in trouble. they would literally pee in their pants and they're at sea. A lot of us we are keyboard warriors, iPhone, Android, whatever. We are keyboard warriors and experts on our devices. But when we get in front of tech, real tech, we become jittery. Tech is a part of our lives that we need to now take extremely serious and very, very, very critical information that we need to know what is going on about. So there are people like Very Dark Man and a couple of people going around today. As we are following all those guys, I promise you, tech is something you should also be following. Tech is also what you should be following and following passionately, because the level at which it's going to, like Timi said, some people literally lost their jobs overnight. And thank God they had a good heart. But if you follow what is going on in the big companies, they are using excuses of low performance to push out people. If you look at what is going on in Facebook, Microsoft, Amazon, the excuse today, at a point when they were firing people 2 years ago, they were paying them off, pay you off for 3 months, pay you off for 6 months, and it was nice. Now they are firing people and they are telling them your firing starts from next Monday, and as you are locking your PC out. And this is not so. It is. You will see people who they've told, oh, you're good, you should get a promotion next year, just work hard and be praying, and then the person gets fired. This is because a lot of things are happening. So look at a company 15 times the size of Sabi, which means I don't know how many staff they have in Sabi. Let's put it at 50. So they are 15 times the size of Sabi or 100 times the size of Sabi.
Well, more than that. Our tech team is much more than 50.
Apologies with all due respect.
No issues. No issues.
With all due respect. But Microsoft, when I left Microsoft, we were 300,000 employees. That is the size of 2 or 3 Caribbean countries. So when Microsoft fires 50,000 people, it's not a lot, but it's also a lot. That's the amount of work they have to do to trim down their size. Now, and when look at all those beautiful things that the tech team did in Sabi. So imagine all the work that they have to do I would say, I have my thoughts on what he said, but I'm not surprised. That means they have a very solid team. But that's high quality automation and data aggregation in action. So when you now have a team, a thinking CTO and smart developers and everything with a lot of automation in place, people are going to lose their jobs. Number one. So that's number one. So you as a person cannot afford not to be aware of what is going on, and you have to read trends. I'm saying a lot of things, but just forgive me. It's critical I learned this very well. Now, talking about yes, exactly, Nihinlola. Thank you for that. Talking about how can market agents ensure that their data is compliant and everything. When you're now tech savvy, you need to know where you are going to put your data, what kind of data you are putting in. The same way today, we are now aware that you cannot put your card on any website. Before you put your card on any website, you have to check it well. You have to think twice. Sometimes we even prefer transfer so that I'm not putting my card details anywhere. That is maturity and awareness that came. Right. So with data, we also need to grow and mature to that capacity. So we don't just drop our data anyhow. We don't just drop our information anyhow. Now, when it now comes to products and services, I'll put it in 2 categories. For small businesses that are just like Nihinlola said, they're making millions because $20 times 10,000 users, that's a lot of money. Now, don't be excited to buy every tool. A lot of people quickly went in and used DeepSeek. Bam, put their name. I'm using DeepSeek and I'm using Coin, which are both Chinese stuff, but I'm not using my name the way I'm using my name on OpenAI. the details I have there, because I'm not sure what is going on that platform. But some people have gallantly gone there. Ah, yes, all those American people, debt to them is bad, is this. But you have sold your data in plenty places. You have put your CV on Quen. I have a friend that he does research. When he comes back to me, when he tells me he has done research, he says, all the AI tools have said the same thing. He wants to buy a device. He does research on all the AI tools. I have another one that says, when I do my work on ChatGPT, I now take it to Gemini to cross-check it. Hey, what are we doing? You're putting yourself on the altar for all of them. You're giving them everything for free. You don't do that. You don't do that. Like I said a few minutes ago, I'm not pro-America per se, but at least they have some finesse and quality in the way they do some of those things. They are not perfect, they are not saints, but the environment requires them to do some things. And then no man's land where there's no rule, where there's no regulation, you cannot trust some of these things. That guy who wrote the code is probably a 19-year-old boy. What does he know about privacy? What does he know about security? What does he know about encryption? What does he know about all those stuff? And you've bought the tool because it allows you to apply for 45 jobs in 10 minutes. I have a VA that just uses AI and uses AI to write content for me. And I had to start teaching her how to write better. And she's like, this thing doesn't work. I'm like, no, that's not how to do it. You need to use your brain. So we are just dropping things anyhow. We're not using our brain. Now, step it higher. Let's talk about enterprise. I have a solution. I want to sell it to the enterprise. It is not everything. I mean, there are things that we call self-hosted. So today we know that we cannot do AI 100% without using the cloud, right? Not everything goes directly into ChatGPT. So you'll be hearing that Microsoft has a lot of investments in OpenAI, and they are using OpenAI's LLM. What exactly are they doing? What Microsoft has done is that they've taken the OpenAI LLM and they have put it into Azure, and you can have a private version of that LLM running on Azure. In Amazon, it's called AWS Bedrock. So you can have a private version of DeepSeek or whatever, or OpenAI, or Grok, or Llama from Facebook, and run it in a private environment. Now, what those things allow me to do is that I can leverage the cloud, but I can run it in, I mean, when I say the cloud now, it's not that you're going to go to cloud.com and you see everything in the cloud. Of course not. There are layers of security and everything that has to happen. So we can begin to trust some of those systems to say, what are the things that you've done? So if I'm selling a solution to you, and this is how I advise my customers, you want to build a payment platform. Congratulations, let's build this, let's make money. I know you need to be PCI compliant, but it's going to cost you a lot of money. I know you need to do ISO 27001, but it's going to cost you a lot of money. That said, I know all the things that PCI requires of you. I know a couple of things also that ISO 27001 or 2022 requires of you. And I know regular risks that we face. So without us even spending money on certification, I'm going to demand that you put all those things into your platform. E.g., that does not stay unencrypted. Card data, cybersecurity, two-factor authentication is necessary. I mean, all those things are things that we should know as senior tech people. So if I'm selling an AI solution to you, you should also be asking me, what are the security things that I've put in place for this platform? How will I ensure that somebody in Madagascar is not going to see our strategy document, even though we need it, or our CRM case details, even though we need it to be in an LLM? So I, as the seller, I, as the builder, needs to convince you and show you all the things that I have done. So the same way you can demand from your doctor what happens to your body, what your health check is, why is this red, why is this green, or you can demand from your mechanic what is doing on your car, the same way you have a right to challenge your AI consultant and ask him questions. But of course, so that you are not asking stupid questions that he will tell you yes to everything, and you now leave the greater things undone, it goes back to the first set of stories I told you. You need to educate yourself. Oh, does he have password? Yes. Does he have certificate? Yes. Does he have hashing? Yes. What is he hashing? Does he have encryption? Yes. What is he encrypting? So you say yes, 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 and you give him green, green, green. Yeah, let's go live. But your data is leaking. So you need to empower yourself. You need to be educated well enough so that when this, because you need these things. You need these things. So you cannot say we are not using this technology until it's fully mature. We usually wait for 2 years. You usually wait for 2 years. You have lost 500 billion naira. So you need to implement the solution yesterday. But being aware of the necessary guardrails, being aware of the necessary things that need to be done. Should it be in the public cloud? Should it be in a private silo? Should it all those necessary checks and balances? Once you put all those things in place, like Gbolabo said, I cannot guarantee you 100%, but I will guarantee you a 95, 99%, and I'm monitoring so that when that remaining 5% happens, I can have an audit trail of what happened and I can plug it as quickly as possible. Long response, but I hope it gives clarity. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. So I think because we're way past time, to be honest. And I think we took extra 45 minutes. And then I would like to stop at this end because I want to I'm sorry I did not respect your time to all of our audience, but I know we're past time. When you have so much interesting topic like this, sometimes we forget our stuff and then we we delve more into the nitty-gritty of the conversation and then we lost track of time, to be honest. So thank you so much. I mean, but the chatting though is open. We can always continue the conversation there and then we'll see. This topic is actually a very interesting topic and we intend to still look at it sometime next month to continue the conversation, probably from another angle with coming from other speakers. So just watch out for um, the upcoming events next month, not next week, I mean next month. So thank you all. I just want to appreciate our panelists. They've done a very fantastic job answering a lot of the questions and then analyzing this topic in the best manner for us to be able to appreciate what it entails. And then to you, our audience, thank you for the one that you guys give us that energy, that motivation to still come up every month to do this. So thank you so much. Once again, I want to thank you all and I want to say do enjoy the rest of the weekend. Have a very, very lovely weekend. And then I will see you next month, last Friday of every month, the same time, 5 p.m. Thank you all. So I'll be joining the cousins. Thank you.
Thank you, MJ, for having me. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, MJ. Thank you, everyone.
everybody.
Thanks for
Bye,
having me.
everyone.
Bye.